Welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the break and the sessions on track one. Get ready for another set of very exciting sessions coming your way. Next up on track one is a session titled Playbook for Enabling Learning Anytime, Anywhere, moderated by Sandeep Bapna, Managing Director, Khan Academy. On track two, our next session is indeed very topical. It focuses on the challenging role of leaders, what good should look like for them going forward, how leaders need to think differently and do differently. The title of the topic is Adaptive Leadership During a Crisis, moderated by Ms. Anjali Raina, Executive Director of the Harvard Business School India Research Center. Anjali is a director on the board of Harvard Business Publishing India and the Harvard Global Support Center India. She is on several other eminent boards, which include Mahindra Insurance Brokers
Okay.
Mahindra Rural Housing Finance Limited, and the European Center for Executive Development. She is also an advisor to the Akanksha Foundation and on the advisory board of HPS Club of India. A banker by profession, Anjali spent over 26 years working with Citigroup, 26 years is her overall banking experience, 15 years of which were with Citigroup, and she spent close to a decade with ANZ Greenlays Bank prior to that. She holds an MBA from the Indian Institute of Calcutta and is an alumnus of HBS, having completed the Advanced Management Program. We're delighted to have you with us, Anjali. Once again, to our friends in the audience, for any questions that you have, please put them in the Q&A box in the Zoom panel. Over to you, Anjali.
Thank you so much, Gitanjali, and a warm welcome to each one of you. And thank you very much for joining the session on adaptive leadership during crisis. We will be uncovering leadership styles to increase relevance through agility and adaptability in these Corona coaster times through an interactive session with seasoned school leaders. Let me first invite each eminent school leader to join. First, Meera Isaacs, Dean Cathedral and John Connon School. Second, Manika Sharma, Director, the Shriram Schools. Third, Manika, please join.
Yeah. Namaste.
Namaste. Then we have Atul Khanna, Director, Strawberry Fields Kindergarten and Strawberry Fields High School. Atul, have you joined? Nooraine Fazal, Managing Trustee, Chief Executive Officer and Co-founder, Inventure Academy. And finally, Monga, Founder and Chairperson at the Association of International Schools of India and the former head of the Bangalore International School. Welcome to each one of you and thank you very much for joining us. I will briefly introduce each panelist and then ask them each a question individually. This will be followed by general questions to the whole panel, followed by a question and answer session where the audience will also get a chance to have their questions answered. And at the end of this session, we will all be clear on the components of agile and adaptive leadership and have heard real life stories and examples of these in action. So let me start with the first question to Meera Isaacs, the Dean of the Cathedral and John Connon School. Meera's been associated with Cathedral for 43 years and has received several awards. She received the Asia One Black Swan Women Empowerment Award, and she also got the Women Achievers Award from the Chief Minister of Maharashtra. She's also been featured as one of the 28 best principals in Asia. There are many more awards. I'm not going to read them all out, but suffice it to say that the alumni from Cathedral schools are leaders in all spheres, from the arts to industry. We have Ehsan Nurari, Yusuf Hamid, Ratan Tata, Salman Rushdie, Homi Bhabha, Shamak Davar. These are just some of the names from this school. So Meera, without further ado, I'm going to ask you the first question. I know from media reports and from talking to you that the Cathedral and John Connon School transitioned over one weekend to online learning. How did you make this happen?
First of all, Anjali, thank you for having me here, and thank you, Ashoka University. It's wonderful to be here. Yeah, so let's begin at the beginning. There was all this talk about COVID coming in, it was flying all around. I could see anxiety levels going up, especially for the parents and the teachers. And I needed to be circumspect. We didn't want to promise action when we couldn't. So of course, what we did was, along with the senior management team and our teachers and IT department, we were assured that our bandwidth was okay, because we've been working with smart boards and with the internet for over 7 years already now. So our teachers are quite familiar with that. So, what we really wanted was to go, I mean, the teachers also were very good with Google Classrooms. Zoom was the one problem that we had, and we didn't, we needed to work on that. So I was assured by my internet team and by my teachers that, okay, we can do this, there's no problem. So on the 12th of March, as we sent our children back home on the school buses, I also sent out a mail to all our parents, assuring them of our commitment to their children, and that we would be looking after them, their academics, etc., on various online platforms, and that they were not to worry. And I must say it was pretty good. Our teachers, of course, three more days, the next day and the weekend was spent in getting them up to the mark, getting me also up to the mark, which I'm still not. And well, we started online on Monday, and it went off pretty well. Tremendous buzz, I must say. Our teachers were superb, absolutely superb, along with the IT team. I think they were just so excited to do this. It was so new and so, what should I say? That was the only thing they could do. There was no offline teaching any longer. And what we did was, some teachers needed laptops, so we gave the school laptops to them. Some decided that they wanted to buy their own laptops. We gave them a loan for that. And that was that. So sent off instructions about timetables and attendance, etc., 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 and had dance and music and yoga, everything up for the kids. And of course, each section did its own thing. It wasn't as though and the HMs, of course, were wonderful also. Actually, I just saw fantastic teamwork, absolutely good teamwork. Everybody was in on it. They bought into it. And that is the way we were assured that we could do something like this, which was new to us, really, which was new in many ways. All right. So I don't know, do you want me to say anything more, or should I just keep quiet now?
Thank you very much, Meera. That's fantastic. You've actually described how one of the first characteristics of an agile and adaptive leader, which is not to freeze. Normally, when a crisis occurs, our first tendency is just to freeze and not take action. But you, instead of putting your foot on the brake, put your foot on the accelerator, you actually changed. And the way you describe the teamwork, what Charles Darwin says is that it's not the strongest of the species that survives, but not the most intelligent. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. And what you described about the teamwork and spirit is really that. So thank you very much for sharing that. I'm going to address the same question to Manika Sharma, the director of the Shriram Schools, who has also been associated with the school for over 31 years. Manika is a passionate educator who leads an army of 4,500 students and over 550 staff. She was part of the General Council of NCERT for a period of 3 years, and she's also been chosen to be amongst the 28 best principals in our country. So Manika, will you describe the transition that you made to online learning, and what made it possible for you to do this in also this short period of time?
Okay, namaste everyone. Thank you so much, Anjali. Thanks for that. And thank you, Ashoka University, for actually initiating this fabulous webinar. With the global pandemic, it's been very tragic, very hard. We've seen some of the darkest periods. But with any crisis, it spurs us to actually create problem-solving solutions. And that's what we did at the Shriram School. And I couldn't have done this alone. So I'd like to correct the adaptive leadership to leadership for me starts from the bottom, from our children, from the entire community, because I wouldn't be able to do this alone. Even if we had a vision, I wouldn't be able to manage that alone without the entire team of the promoters, the principals, the senior management team, the ICT team, the teachers, exactly what Meera spoke about. And again, this is not something new for the Shriram School. We are very well experienced in this space, thanks to all the pollution holidays that Delhi and Gurugram had to shut
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I think there's been an audio drop. If I may request Ms. Fazal to take on, ma'am, would you like to speak further?
I'm sorry, connection dropped. Am I back?
Anika, can you, guys, can you hear?
Yes, I'm back. I'm back. No, the connectivity dropped. I'm sorry about that. So, it wasn't something new. So when this announcement came, I think we were up to speed with our communication between between February and early March. We had sent out about 3 communications to the parent body, aligning them, orienting them about what's going to pan out in the next couple of weeks. Having said that, of course, we continue to combine research-oriented pedagogy and hands-on projects. The teachers are absolutely fabulous. I mean, it's not easy for teachers to be working out of their kitchens and their bedrooms and their dining rooms and yet conducting and holding the children. So teachers as facilitators is what we saw, and not as hubs of information. We increased the EdTech tools that were necessary for a larger variety of students. And we did a fairly good job. We got huge commendations from our parent body. So that's
Thank you. Manika, thank you very much, because you've shared another aspect of agile and adaptive leadership, which is that very often change creates problems. And these problems require solutions, and those solutions require us to work much harder, and they require much more effort. So as a leader, you've been able to transform the thinking of your entire team, including your parents who gave you so much cooperation, and make them want to embrace this change rather than resist. Of course, the fact that you had this pollution experience helped, but being able to continuously change was important. Let me move to the next one. Thank you for that. Atul, let me move to you and say that it's a similar sort of question for you. But given the composition of your student body, let me first introduce Atul. Atul is the director of Strawberry Fields Kindergarten and the Strawberry Fields High School in Chandigarh. Atul set up the Durga Das Foundation, dedicated to his grandfather's memory, in 1994. This transformed into the Strawberry Fields Kindergarten and the Strawberry Fields High School, and it's driven by a very committed and dedicated team. Atul is interested in gardening, music, art, and theatre, and Strawberry Fields have embraced all these aspects and even have an active center for the performing arts. And the philanthropic arm has grown to support many underprivileged children. So Atul, given the composition of your student body with over 400 students from the EWS, or the economically weaker sections of society, how did you expand, impact, and reach in these pandemic times?
Thank you, Anjali. In fact, this is a period in history that will be marked and revisited by future generations, and a lot of responsibility rests on us. But the question you asked is very important. So right from the moment the school started and the team started immediate work on home engagement modules, the approach taken was to ensure inclusivity of all. This meant bringing over 1,960 students on the same page. The school's online portal was the most effective platform for reaching out to all, and fortunately, due to the penetration of cellular phones, this was the first step. We kept ourselves abreast with what the government guidelines were and developed our own point persons in the administration and education department to clarify doubts and understand implications of every ruling, directive, and notification. These were then simply and firmly communicated. And the second aspect was to adapt our teaching and learning methodology to ensure that well-planned, focused, and engaging home assignment modules were designed and meticulously created for each class group, comprising various subjects, keeping in mind the fact that this online uploading platform was a one-way process. The educators made sure each module and worksheet was complete, packaged, which did not require textbooks, and moved from familiar to non-familiar learning objectives. Once we moved on to the more interactive and face-to-face platforms of Google Meet and MicroTeam, the transition was absolutely seamless. However, we were most concerned about challenges which students were still facing due to poor network connectivity. They were unable to access the online portal for home engagements. modules, but then they were able to access with good internet connectivity. To cater to them, we continue to run parallel uploads of HEMs on the school portals and ensure that class educators were reaching out to every student via phone and WhatsApp. And this includes the underprivileged too.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Atul. You've given us another dimension where you have looked at inclusivity. And what you've said is that you listened to every parent, you called every parent, you reached them in any way that was possible. Change is good. You embraced it in a way which was really positive. Thank you, Atul. I'm now going to move on to Nooraine. Nooraine Fazal. Nooraine worked with IBM and Reuters for 10 years globally before returning to India. She conceived and conceptualized the Inventure Academy, which today is amongst India's top 3 schools. Nooraine believes that quality education can empower youth to bring positive change. She is passionate about yoga and sports and has represented Karnataka at cricket and basketball at one time. So truly multidimensional and well-rounded. Nooraine, in your response to the pandemic, what steps did you take to expand impact and reach? I know you've done some really innovative things, so I'd like to hear about that, especially about the students.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to come here and share our experiences. I'm going to share a couple of examples here. And it was around about mid-March when we realized that we were faced the very real prospect of not being able to start the new academic year in mid-May on campus. So we decided to flip it and say, hey, let's go to the students. They're the key stakeholders. Let's ask them to be a part of the solution and really use this crisis as an opportunity to reimagine classes and school. So we launched a Changemaker challenge. Thanks to the power of technology, we were able to take it far and wide. And we had over 100 teams participating across South Asia and Gulf. What we did was for a period of 2 months, we gave them the opportunity to participate in workshops on design thinking. We had a crack team of mentors and guides, both from Inventure as well as ex-Googlers who work with us. And we also provide them funding to take something from concept through to pilot. And what the students told us was to help them bring learning alive. They asked for more interactivity through AR, VR. They wanted kids to be sent home. They wanted more inclusivity. They had ideas for schools to support deaf students, students in government schools, rural India, and focused on mental health, co-curricular education. And what we've now done is we've set up an incubator with schools like Inventure and other partner schools to really expand the reach of these ideas. The second, really in keeping with our belief that education needs to help every child find their purpose. You know, what is that sweet spot between what they're good at doing, what the world needs, what they love doing, and what they can be paid for? So we, like the other panelists mentioned, we're carrying on with co-curricular education as well, including, believe it or not, inland swimming. So using training drills to work on their cardiovascular fitness, their functional fitness, work on their technique. And this is something which is used by competitive swimmers around the world, including one of our own students who's the breaststroke champion for India. So really, I think this is a great opportunity to basically say the new world requires new learning. Educators in India really need to change that paradigm of success, go beyond board exams, and look at providing an education which helps every student be the best possible version of themselves and contribute to making the world a better place. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Nooraine. If I had any child who was of school-going age, I would definitely send them to you. So you should, I would encourage you all to look at the Inventure Academy website where the swim training is actually revealed. And that's really interesting. In fact, the example that Nooraine has given is something that one of our professors at Harvard Business School, Linda Hill, keeps talking about. She says that innovation is about that which is new and useful. To get the new, you need to unleash lots of ideas. And then to get the useful, you have to figure out how to leverage and harness those ideas and deal with the diversity and conflict that comes from that, to come up with a useful solution that will be for the collective good. And I think both your Changemaker challenge and the swim team examples reflect that. So thank you very much, Nooraine. I'm going to move on to the next question, which is for Anuradha Monga. Anuradha Monga's professional career started in the mid-1980s when she became vice chair of the school board and the Parent-Teacher Association at the British School in New Delhi. Anu is the founder and chairperson at the Association of International Schools of India, TAISI, which is this acronym. And the primary objective of TAISI is to create a platform on which stakeholders can engage through dialogue, workshops, cooperation, sharing, and alliance building. At the core of everything is student learning, especially focusing on special education needs children. More about that later. TAISI reaches over 150 institutions, ranging from schools to publishers, technology providers, auxiliary education services, education boards, and universities. But as I said, I wanted to talk about the special needs children. So though you have founded the International Schools Association, you work very closely with children who have learning disabilities and who need a high-touch environment. How have you managed the change in these times of physical and social distancing?
Good afternoon, all of you. It's a pleasure to be with the family of educators. Yes, I don't take it as a challenge or a threat. I take whatever has happened is as a resource and how we can work on it. And so we have different stages of special need kids. Some kids are very highly autistic and also need more help. Their concentration level is only 13% of concentration. And what we do with the highly, ADDH kids and other learning needs issues, we work with them on Zoom once a week. The teacher talks to them, so she can ask some questions and she knows and she can assess those kids. There's a lot which the parent body does, and it really works well because these parents are so forthcoming to help. And we also work with a special, app which is inserted into the non-verbal kids' their laptops or the iPads, and when they type, it speaks. So that really helps the kids. In fact, I have found, and what we've done is whatever lesson we taught, they have been learning the last semester, it's being repeated to them. And of course, there's a lot of work with parents and teachers and the students, to develop curiosity, gardening, because you learn a lot with gardening. And, so much of science comes out in that, and some sports, and storytelling is a very important part of these kids. So what I can see that it has, I've not taken it as a threat. I'm really working towards this, and now even trying to get some of these kids. And one thing I want to advise all the schools, that they put all these learning needs kids in a special room. And that's not how it's supposed to be. We can learn a lot from them. It should be inclusive classes, whether it's online or whether it is, in classrooms. We've also worked a lot with parents, and we have coffee chats on Zoom link, and just informal discussions that how we are working with your kids. So it's really nice how we work. And we also work with NOS kids. Now they're all right. NOS is a CBSE program. They have to take at least 5 subjects, and it can go on for 2-3 years. They don't have to finish everything the first year. And they go online, and they're happy kids, and they've got into very different schools, and it's accepted. NOS is accepted all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anu. I think it is really interesting to hear that you've not looked at this as a crisis, but as an opportunity, and that you've used inspiration and innovation to actually move this ahead. There was a guy I knew called Ben Zander. He used to run actually an orchestra, who was saying that leaders have the responsibility to get their people to focus on opportunity. And opportunity is only one sentence away. It's the thing you need to say after confronting a very difficult situation. And I think, for these high-touch children, what everybody imagines is difficult, the way you've described it is really fabulous. Thank you very much, Anu. I'm now going to go on to the next round of questions, and I'm going to again start with Meera. Meera, schooling is being reimagined. We know that there's going to be a fair degree of uncertainty. There's going to be a new reality. Schools will open, close, there may be lockdowns and so on. So how do you reimagine schooling? And how do you plan to create new opportunities and use this hybrid online, offline mode to increase student learning, keep students learning continuous, and to improve the teacher experience? Because this is going to continue. So,
Yes.
Meera?
Yeah, I guess this will continue. But the fact is that actually at the moment a fire has been lit and everybody seems to be so enthusiastic about it that I simply cannot see us going back to something that is almost obsolete now. All right. And tech is here to stay. There is innovation, which is of course the key. But I really do feel that all of us together should be sharing our experiences by collaboration, cooperation, regular exchange of ideas. And I think I'm going to make that really my midterm, I don't know when it will be open, my resolution, because we really are on the brink of a revolution in Indian education. There's just no question in my mind about it. Share best practices. Let us all benefit from it and let all our children benefit.
Meera, thank you. Manika, would you like to say how you are thinking of looking at this hybrid learning, this Corona coaster time, this on off? What are you planning?
Corona coaster, that sounds really good. Okay, so aptly described. At the Shriram School, we've had a clear vision. It was already there. We just had to realign and enable all. Like I said, kudos to the teacher community. They all came together and they took upon themselves things differently, very differently, because this was not about 2 days or 3 days. This was going to continue for weeks on end. And we thought what was the best thing to do. So, children, teenagers especially, were disassociated, were away from their friends, their peers, their lifelines, the hugs and the talks and all of that. School experience is very different. Online is very different. So as the senior management team, we came together and we decided that what do we do for children that will keep them engaged and connected? And here's where the teachers and the students came together. And we did some very exciting events that are very close to their heart. For example, we initiated the student council elections and nominations online. Now that kept the children engaged for a good week. And it was exciting, it was engaging, it was there for all parents to experience with their children sitting in bedrooms and dining rooms. And this was happening online. For the first ever, the exchange programs, children were ready to go in the summer overseas to Europe. And now the virtual exchanges have started. So the cross-cultural experience at both ends is absolutely phenomenal. Online assemblies led by the respective principals, engaging with their students, the head boy, head girl, talking to the students about what's in store, what's going to be different, how do you equip yourself? You see, because we have to look at the mental and the emotional health. Children are not even going out to play. How much is too much? Do we really want so much screen time for the very young children? So again, the team came up with something which they call the Shri radio or the Shri storytellers, where they can actually tune into stories that are by their teachers for the children. So these are some of the new things that we've done. We made sure that we ensured equity among students, because we also have a very heterogeneous group of students in our school. We do have the children from the economically weaker section constituting 25% all inclusive. We do have the special needs children who definitely need much more care, and the special educators have gone online with each child individually, drawing up programs for them. We have to plan to heighten the mental and physical spaces, for the children, and none of this was possible without the core of digital citizenship. So that's where we are, and my staff is invested to another level. And I again want to thank my senior management team. I can't do this without them for sure.
It's very interesting to hear from both of you. You both played a very poor hand well, because you've really taken schooling beyond the school and learning beyond the classroom. And you've looked at the three good things, that could arrive rather than the negative. So thank you, Meera. Thank you, Manika, for sharing that. I'm going to move to Nooraine. Nooraine, how would you make your school product highly desirable and differentiate it from competition?
Really?
I'm now thinking forward.
Right.
Because you have the opportunity to actually attract students from everywhere. So how would you differentiate your product and make it highly desirable?
Yeah. I think really by creating a very agile and innovative culture within the school where people are given responsibility. You have an idea. This is something which my team always goes a bit crazy with. We have an idea and we just say, okay, let's make it happen. So even our response to the coronavirus, at the end of last academic year, we took the opportunity to roll out synchronous and asynchronous academic classes. Over the summer, we didn't sit back. We did co-curricular beyond academics summer camp. We did the Changemaker challenge. We did Inventure, which is anchored in project-based learning and student choice. So at each step, we experimented, we took feedback from our stakeholders, we learned, we adapted, and we made it better. So I think that's really critical. And the other thing is really to ensure sustainability. One is, of course, financial, like Mr. Deepak Parekh talked about. And I will talk about this because I think it's a very sensitive topic, and parents are hurting as well right now. And there tends to be a distrust of the private school managements. So I think that's critical really to build a culture of mutual trust and respect with all stakeholders. As a school, we very quickly ascertained how much cash we will need to see at least this academic year through. And we spoke to each of our stakeholders directly, including students. We spoke to faculty and said, hey, don't worry, your salaries are not going to get impacted. We in fact invested in their training, in technology. And with parents, we pulled back on the fee hike to basically say, hey, we're with you. We gave them easier installments. We came up with a contingency fund. So really at every step of the way, I think what institutions need to do to differentiate themselves is to provide an education which is relevant for an ever-changing, uncertain world, and work with all the stakeholders very collaboratively and really make them partners in the relentless pursuit of your school's vision.
Thank you. Thank you very much. In fact, this goes back to something that Meera said a little bit earlier, where she said that, if we can share and we can collaborate, and you're also saying the same thing, that let's engage with all the stakeholders. It's really about not looking at the pie as a limited pie and thinking about how you can get a bigger slice of the pie, but actually how can you make the pie bigger?
May I add to that, please? What we're also doing is working with a government school in our neighborhood. So our teachers, we've actually recruited teachers there, and our senior teachers at Inventure work with them. Even through this crisis, learning has carried on through smartphones and WhatsApp. So I think we really need to, raise the tide for everybody, because if there's one thing this has taught us, coronavirus has taught us, is that our well-being is very interdependent. So I think it's great learning from it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And I'm going to spring off that and go to Atul. Atul, I know that you have a large number of staff and a large number of people, and building on the sustainability point and what Meera and Manika have said earlier, how would you make your school, how would you differentiate it from competition? How would you make your school product highly desirable? How would you continue to remain sustainable in these times?
Anjali, I believe that each institution is driven by ideologies which forms the basis of its foundation. More effectively, these are displayed in everyday interactions and workings of its people, then they can cement the culture and character of that institution. At Strawberry Fields, our differentiator is how we view people, our students, educators, support staff, and parents. The transparency, ease of communication, approachability, respect, and acceptance of differences stem from this. Our lines of authority are well defined, and yet they blur when there is need for collaboration, participation, and an atmosphere which calls for mutual respect and learning from one another.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Atul. Thank you. Anu, I'm just going to ask you if you have a sentence or two to give, to talk about how you would reimagine learning in this and the new ways of working. What would you say to the audience? If you were to reimagine new ways of working, what would you say to the audience?
I would talk to the audience and say that it's not so easy. Brick and mortar is also very important, and so we have to really make a roadmap. My video is not on?
No, but doesn't matter. We can hear you.
Okay, sorry. So we have to make a roadmap and work with all the stakeholders, work with technology, with support staff, with our faculty, with our parents, and and then draw the map. It will not take 6 months also. Schooling is schooling. My only point is that we do have to have it's not only, it has to be a brick and mortar is very essential, because there are some kids who don't find that place at home. So it's the schools are beyond, it's also beyond learning. And like, like what I said, that if we have homes, that's also brick and mortar. The water pipe may get clogged, then we have to work how to work towards it. So the map is very essential, because there are disadvantages of blending learning or reimagining schools. But so we have to really study that.
Thank you, Anu. Thank you very much. I did have a third question for each panelist, but I see that we are running out of time. So I'm going to move to the audience questions. We have a large number of people in the audience and a huge number of questions. So the questions are divided into challenges, process, and best practices. And something that has been very frequently asked is about how do you do online assessments? And what's the best method of assessment in the current situation?
That's what we're working on.
So I'm not sure whether, Meera, would you like to answer that?
Well, we are just working on that. We had one run through yesterday. Oh dear.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you, Meera.
All right. And we are also working with formative assessments. And the fact is that, you have to have, we've put some things in place. I really don't know about how well it's going to work. We've got to check. On Monday is going to be the first assessment really that we are going to see. And only then will I be able to give any kind of feedback on that. But it's been a fairly complicated sort of affair. And we hope it's going to work well. And then maybe I could answer that, not before that.
Thank you.
May I take
Thank
that?
you. Is there anybody else who's done anything on assessments?
Could I take that, Anjali? Could I just talk about that?
What I really learned from you, Meera, is that you try something out, you experiment, and you've done it. Yes, of course. Go ahead. Go ahead, Manika.
So while it's work in progress, just like Meera said, for us at the Shriram School, but we'll have to bring in, these are things to think about. And because we'll have to bring in some flexibility in assessments, whether children are in school or out of home. We will have to have devices for all. We will have to take critical decisions around absenteeism, grading, progression. And these things are only possible. And I speak for Nooraine. Thank you very much. Nooraine is a person who collaborates so much. She has shared some brilliant ideas with us, and all of us are in a space where we are discussing assessments presently. So I think in a couple of weeks from now, we will be happy to share with whosoever is asked. So share their email ID and we will get back to them.
Thank you very much. I think the fact that we are continuously learning is important. The other thing is that just a quick, just one word answer. Everybody's asking, what has been the students' response to online learning? So if each person, just a 1 or 2 word answer to that. What has been the students' response to online learning?
They have been, shall I go?
Nooraine?
Yeah, they've absolutely embraced it. It's given them a sense of purpose.
Atul? Atul, you're muted.
It's been absolutely wonderful. I would go with Nooraine, and I think it's been very, very positive. Of course, we've had some regular glitches, but we've been able to overcome those.
Anu, what was the response of the students to online learning? I think, has she dropped off? Anu? You're muted, Anu.
Yeah, now you can hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. What was the response of the students?
Yeah,
yes, what was the response?
I had 2 kinds of responses. One, some students took it very well and they enjoyed it and they learned so much more because there were different resources and a lot of, peer talking. But there have been incidents when kids couldn't really get online. Like recently, there was a case in Kerala 3 days ago. A student committed suicide. And that was very heartbreaking. So when I heard Salman Khan today, I thought that, when he said it's turning into other languages, this is really going to help the kids.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else wants to chime in, or should I move on to the next question?
Yeah, the kids really have taken to it like ducks to water. They loved it.
Okay, we loved it. Good. So it's important that the quality of learning and the inclusive learning has not suffered. Really, it is an opportunity for us to reimagine learning and reimagine the way it is, which it is done. So there's a question that has come back frequently. How do you build a team which is agile, and how do you keep the team motivated? How do you build a team which is agile, and how do you keep the team motivated? Manika, would you like to respond?
Yeah, sure. So that's an easy one. I think you have to believe in them, trust them, engage, empower them, not be a controlling sort of head of school or leader, whatever capacity, in whichever hierarchy you fit in. And that's how teams are built. They have to, they have to be the wind beneath our wings, as they say. And when you give it to the teams, they deliver. In my personal experience, I say so because I feel that I just sit back. Actually, I have the least work probably because you share an idea and you see that it's implemented in a couple of weeks from when it was shared. And that means that the team is motivated. And basic premise is trust.
Yes.
That's about it. And one more thing, can I just add, Anjali, can I add one more thing?
Yes.
I think very, very sensitive HR policies as a school is important. And that's what we take great pride in because the staff know that we care. And when somebody knows you care, they go all out. So sound HR policies.
May I say something here, Anjali? May I say something?
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
Anjali,
Yes, Meera.
I honestly feel that, yes, what I would go 100% with whatever Manika said just now. I think it's the trust and the empathy. They know that you are there for them. And the moment they know that, the teachers, they are absolutely, I mean, I just can't thank them enough. I always feel so blessed to have a team like them. And I think it's very, very important. I'm just moving slightly away from whatever's here to say that teachers are such a pillar of society. They are to be respected. They are to be held with dignity. And I think that's so important because in our society, sometimes, Are kya hai? Teacher hai? What nonsense? That's ridiculous. And I find that very, very hurtful. I think we need to give our teachers not just expect that, okay, there's a teacher, therefore the person must be paid less. Why? She's doing such a fantastic job. Everyone in society has had a school teacher behind him or her. I think we need to value that. That's
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can I say something here?
Yes, and
Anjali,
I'm going to stop this over here and just say that in one of the previous sessions, they said that the role of the teacher has been redefined. It's no longer just a knowledge repository, but it is really an inspirer and encourager. And that's exactly what Meera is saying. Atul, actually, I'm glad that you want to say something, but I have a question for you, which has come from the panel, panelists. May I ask that? You can answer if you like, which is that how, as a leader, as a school leader, Atul, how are you addressing issues related to parental anxieties and fee reduction requests from them?
We honestly, we haven't had so many requests at school, but we've had a couple of them and we try to connect with each parent. We try to communicate. I had my accounts department communicate with almost every parent who had some concern. I tried to write to them myself. We communicated through an SMS explaining them the practical considerations that need to be taken, or kept in mind. And I think parents were very receptive. And I have to share on this platform, I've every day received very encouraging messages and calls from my accounts department to say, sir, calling up a parent has been such a wonderful experience. They're so understanding. They understand what the problems of the schools are. So I think it's that effective communication, and we've always tried to maintain and keep that. So perhaps that has helped.
Yes. Absolutely, the pillar of communication, which is so important. There was one last question, which maybe any of you can pick up if you want to. Did any students face any problems with regard to engagement, security, and safety getting onto an online platform?
May I say this? Can I?
Yes, Anu.
Yeah,
Yes, go ahead, Anu.
I saw some students who were very wary of the online program. The reason was that earlier, a few months ago, some kids followed them online and there was a lot of cybercrime. And they were nervous even to get onto that machine. And then we had to work through them, counseling them, but they're okay now and they're getting on, but they were very nervous because the cybercrime has become so much in schools these days.
Sorry, may I just come in there, please?
Yes, go ahead.
What we're finding is that students who are generally introverts, and actually even teachers, the classroom management has actually gone up. The engagement levels have gone up. And I think part of the reason is that students can actually see each other. So maybe this is something to think about when we go back to school in campus. But I think this has been an absolutely amazing opportunity and something which we've all held off on, in terms of integrating technology. But this is an opportunity for all types of learners to truly engage and find their pathways to success.
Thank you very much, Nooraine. That is a great closing note for us because we are almost out of time. We've covered almost all the questions that have come. If you had to give a one-word piece of advice, Nooraine, what would it be? Just a sentence of advice to the audience.
Take on board all your stakeholders. Put yourself
Nooraine?
in their shoes. Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Keep them all involved. Keep them all.
Yeah, you basically have to make sure, someone once said that we're all in the same storm, but we're in different boats, right? So I think we need to appreciate and understand that.
Anybody else?
So, yeah.
I think the new normal, if I may just step in, is that the new
advice?
Is some.
Yes.
May I? Okay.
Yes.
I think the new normal would be anytime, anywhere learning model. I saw somebody asking a question about remediation and how would you do remediation? It's so easy now because after school you again connect back with your children and give them a one-on-one lesson. So anytime, anywhere learning model is the new normal. We will not be restricted to timings and the school day.
Anjali, can I say something?
We've got only 30 seconds left. So long as it's 30 seconds.
Yeah. So I just feel that if we don't change, we'll become the casualty of that change. That's it.
Amazing. Yes, Atul, jaldi se.
The value system and how our core sense of self is changing during the pandemic needs to be seen in the light of the COVID-19. Instead we are focusing on the right values that can make our students strong and effective. And education is all about being
amazing.
A guiding light and a trendsetter. And I think this composition of panel today to come up with recommendations for a way forward where all of us can agree to adopt those adaptive leadership traits to lead our teams in the future.
Thank you very much, all of you, for sharing the examples and the stories and the anecdotes and the actions and the initiatives that you have actually taken. Through your actions, you have demonstrated adaptive and agile leadership, and you've shown us what is required to navigate through these challenges, that we need to reimagine the product, we need to reimagine the market operations, and we need to reimagine the way we work. And that is what is being demanded of us as agile and adaptive leaders. So thank you very much. There was one aspect that we didn't touch on, which was the back office, bus drivers and etc. But I know that all of you have done great work. Your emails are available. I'm sure Ashoka will make that available to you in case you need. So we are going to now, I want to just say thank you to each one of you and for joining this panel, for being here. I've enjoyed myself. I must say I was nervous with all my school leaders. I was remembering being back in school. I have individual relationships with each one of you, so I was nervous about being here.
I feel the same way, Anjali.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Stay safe.
Thank you, Anjali, and our panel for that very rich and comprehensive discussion. The discussion brought to light some terrific examples of what these leaders have done in these unprecedented times to sustain their institutions and also uphold continuous learning. You know, acknowledging that change is a constant and that it can come unannounced, I think was a great acknowledgement, because this is something that we've got to live with as we move forward. Making it imperative, therefore, for leaders to be a lot more agile, a lot more adaptive, sensitive, inclusive, inspirational, and collaborative. You know, the converting a crisis into an opportunity and adopting a positive stance is what the theme of this discussion was. And a lot of it had to do with, you know, leadership lessons that we've all heard about and read about. And honestly, there's no change in the ask. It's more about putting these practices to play as we move forward in these continuously changing and dynamic times. So thank you once again for that very, very rich discussion.